Access code required. Good evening and welcome, everyone, or should I say, welcome back here to the Overwatch All Star Brawl 6. It has been about a year and a half since we were able to do the last All Star Brawl, and it was getting time to bring it back, and that's exactly what we're doing here tonight. It's the opening match of the tournament. To kick things off, we have got Shikigami taking on Nisshoki, and let me tell you, this is going to be a match to keep your eye on. This is going to be some incredible stuff. We are thrilled to be back here, and I am thrilled to be here tonight. My name is Shy Guy. I'm joined by Sir Waltham, who will help me break down all the action. Waltham, it's good to be back, buddy.
Yeah, Shy Guy, it's been a little bit of a minute, like you said, a year and a half, but I don't think I'm ready to let that break my momentum. We're going to go at this just like another day in the office. We're going to bring all the action to the people here on Twitch. And folks, remember, hit those follows, those subscribe buttons if you want to support what we do here. We love seeing it.
Absolutely. You can join the Discord, follow us on YouTube, smash all the buttons. And during the match, don't forget, we will have the MVP poll going live, so you can make your voice heard. You can tell us who absolutely popped off here tonight, and I'm sure we're gonna have plenty of options, but always there's that one person who stands out above the rest. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as the game goes on, and then of course whoever you at home select will get the chance to step into the caster booth with us for a little bit of a post-match interview. But before we can get to that, before we can get to this this absolutely incredible Overwatch that we've got coming your way, we do have a little bit of business to attend to in the form of our pre-match interview. And Waltham, you are going to take that away now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Shy Guy. We are here in the pre-game interview booth, very different from the post-game interview booth, if I may say. We are sitting in here with Alakwan. Alakwan, hello, welcome. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get into it?
Yeah, my name is Alakwan. I'm currently the coach for Shikigami, and yeah, that's me.
All right, well, fantastic. Now, as I'm sure the people at home are very well aware, this is our first game of the tournament, Alakwan. Give me your thoughts for your team as they head into this, those potential first match jitters, or maybe even those first match confidences.
Well, I trust in my team. I know our team can do great. We've been practicing really hard, and we've stuck together for quite a long time to keep the team chemistry up. And if we stick together, we play together, I know we can take the W.
Fantastic. That's the confidence I personally love to hear. Now, I want to focus a little bit more towards yourself. Now, you mentioned that you do a little bit of coaching, but I guess for those at home, let's give the people a little bit more of a deep dive. Specifically, what kind of coaching do you do? What do you really focus on with this team?
Well, I'm more of a person who likes to dive deep into VOD reviews, making sure the team understands all aspects of a play, of what we're going to do, how we're going to execute it, and what's the most important part of the plan. And through VOD reviews and through obviously scrim practice, we try to execute our perfect performance on how we can play our comps to the max potential.
All right, well, I'm going to quote you on that, Alakwan. You said perfect performance here. I'm going to be expecting to see it out on the field, but if we're talking individual players, do you think there's anybody on your team, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, I fully acknowledge that, do you think there's anybody on the team we need to keep particular eyes on?
Well, I mean, obviously, because we're Shikigami, every player is good, but specifically, Abyss has crazy mechanics. He's going to be 1v1ing tracers and beating them every time. We have players like Lucid. He's going to be making quick montages. He's going to end up on your Twitter. Guaranteed.
All right, well, fantastic. I know the players are ready to get into it, so I will let you go here, Alakwan. But once again, thank you for hopping into the interview booth, answering a few of our questions.
Thank you. But good luck on the games. See you.
Yeah, as well. Now, Shy Guy, we are about ready to get into it. These players have got to be frothing at the mouth. We've kept them waiting for almost a year and a half, and I do get word that we're going to be starting off on Nepal.
Indeed we will. That's where we're going to kick off what I have decided to call the Weeable here between Shikigami and Nisshoki, two Japanese-themed teams here. Nisshoki actually just the name for the Japanese flag, so they got the entire power of the nation behind them. But we'll see if that's going to be enough to take down Shikigami here tonight. Nisshoki, of course, they're coming off a recent Open Division run where they were able to place I think top 16 in the end. So definitely a team that is kind of like on the up and up and has a chance to continue progressing and continue kind of making their name here in the tier 3 scene.
Oh, I absolutely hope so. You're gonna love to see it every time. But Shy Guy, for those who may have been out of the loop a little bit, why don't we give them a quick rundown of how they can expect the format for this tournament to work?
Indeed. This is going to be a double elimination tournament. So every team here is going to get 2 bites at the apple at the very least. We do have a very interesting system of map picks and bans that we'll probably get into a little bit more detail. But just suffice to say for right now that you can definitely see the same map type picked back to back. This is not a situation where we're going to be running through each of the 4 map types in a row. So we definitely like to change things up a little bit here in terms of the format at the All-Star Brawl, and that will be interesting to see if these teams, they have specialties they want to go to. They have certain map types that they tend to favor. A lot of times in the past, that meant that we get to go entire series without seeing Assault, and maybe that'll be the case once again.
Of course, always that potential here, but as we look towards our map, we do see that Shrine is going to be the starting map. We see these players starting off with that sim, so it's looking like it's going to be perhaps just the quick teleport to get everybody out onto the field. Yeah, indeed, and then it's going to be the swaps coming through.
Certainly, and we've got the Far from Stone, 2 very different compositions here from the 2 sides. We do indeed see a very brawly composition taking up position on the point right now, whereas the rest of the attackers, Lucid Science and company, are just going to be poking from a distance for the time being.
Yeah, and so far they have to be very careful. Nisshoki being brought dangerously low. They don't want to lose any early members, especially before this Doomfist can get rolling, although good first possession.
Yeah, indeed, and they're able to take down the main tank, so Shikigami kind of just gonna have to back off for the time being. Still, they're poking around. They take down Havoc, but they can't seem to find the angles of attack for the time being. Stone having to play very passive, being held at bay by Zayfen for the time being.
Out of the sky, but with a Baptiste ultimate, it looks like Nisshoki's going to be looking to lock in this fight.
Indeed, they will. They retain control, and they do so with relative ease. There, just the one ultimate having to be committed, so they'll start building up towards the rest of those big power tools momentarily. The sound barrier coming online for Clover, but on the other side, both those DP ultimates are ready to go. We'll see if Stone and Trev Stacks could get into position to make use of them.
Going to be very essential. Trev Stacks tries to perhaps hit one of the weaker targets, the lower HP targets, I should say, with that Pulse Mine. If they can get a nice cluster, also going to be a huge advantage. Going to be the initiation with the Pulse Bomb, the Pile Driver as well. This is going in heavy.
Yeah, indeed, the Immortality Field is able to save them from the Pulse Bomb, and now it is time for Nisshoki to answer back. The Earthshatter laid down, but can't quite secure the kill there onto Lucid Science, and as things get chaotic, that's where this ball comes. That's where this Pharah can really thrive.
Yeah, and a late Deadeye coming in from Zaffin. Not quite sure what the benefit of that is going to be, although it does get the Diva. So something to be said about that. Some good benefit there. There's still going to be a couple ultimates in the pocket of Shikigami, so they didn't commit everything to getting this point. That is going to be essential here. And now they can really start using this Pharah to play at a couple different angles as well, just get better eyes over all the field. They do have that Mercy Pocket in hand and dropping right behind his team.
Indeed, but the speed boost right on to the point. They know they can delete SBT. No Diva makes easy pickings for Havoc there, and now the Meteor Strike as well, finding Abyss, exactly the start that Nisshoki was looking for, but the res does make things a little bit more interesting, and for the time being, Lucid Science is at least stalling things out here with the Wrecking Ball. Eventually will fall, and nobody else really going to be able to keep this point going for much longer. Trev Stacks hit by the stun there, but not taken out. So this is, several seconds here. SBT even gets back into the fray, so they buy a little bit of time, but in the end, Nisshoki comes out on top.
Yeah, a risky investment there, and I was talking about the Pharah being able to play from multiple angles, but you called it out perfectly, Shy Guy. With that speed boost, Clover able to get their team right onto point and just punch the rest of the ground units in the face, take up that possession, and now all of a sudden the onus is on Shikigami, and now they have to try to retake this last fight.
Indeed, and there's a zoning. Self-destruct comes actually finds Neothay up in the sky. Stone is going to have to do this without the Mercy Pocket for the remainder of this fight, but the Deadeye comes out, and there's nothing he can do up in the sky. Stone will fall after getting one with the barrage, but it is all over here for Shikigami. Nisshoki will claim the first point of this game.
To play, they considered those compositions. Again, that Pharah in the air, while it can be very oppressive, encourage you to play indoors. I got a hot tip in the fact that the point kind of has a little covering over it, so it makes it a little bit harder to get that oppressive damage in directly there if you're not already on the ground, which, if you are, the Pharah's already at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Indeed, and now we're going to have to see some swaps here from the side of Shikigami. They simply cannot really press forward with the Wrecking Ball comps here as we head over to Sanctum for point number 2. Not much changing for Nisshoki. They are very pleased with how that first round goes, and they just want to keep things in a similar ballpark.
A little bit more of the same as we might expect, but Stone going to be coming out on this May, an opportunity to section somebody off. It's going to have to be Mitch who keeps very careful of it. They get sectioned off, they can get punished extremely hard here.
Indeed, and there goes the wall. The DPS can't get into this fight for the time being, but that Immortality Field does keep the tanks up for right now. A nice boot from Closer is giving a bit of an advantage here to Nisshoki, but it's incredibly back and forth. Neither team has been able to kind of firmly gain control of this fight, and finally Lucid Science will fall, and it does look like Nisshoki are going to be able to clean up these last couple of kills.
Yeah, an unfortunate spot there for Shikigami. Although it looked like it was going back and forth, they end up losing a few more of their supports, and by that I mean they lose all their supports. Their opponents still have one on the field in Z Panther's Baptiste, meaning that they can have just a little bit more sustain. They take that fight a little bit slower, can get in there with some severe aggression after the fact, but now it looks like the point's going to slowly be contested by Shikigami once again.
Yeah, as both teams get their respawns back into this fight, it is going to be Shikigami putting the pressure onto the point, onto Mitch right now. Forces out a very early Immortality Field, and as soon as that falls, there goes the Reinhardt. The Deadeye through the Amp Matrix is absolutely massive. Zafin finds 2, and the Blizzard not enough here for the side of Shikigami to be able to get any kind of foothold in that fight.
Yeah, Zafin using that Deadeye really effectively there. Seeing the Baptiste ultimate goes down in that corner, has to use that Deadeye to zone out anybody from even being in that corner and getting the benefit of it. The fact that you get 2 kills, that's even better than you may have been hoping for, but now it looks like another go is having here.
Oh, 2 shatters go down, but it's only Mitch who really finds anything out of it. Lucid Science will fall, and now the ults start flying. SBT finds 1 with the bomb, but it's too little, too late here for Shikigami. Havoc is going absolutely monstrous right now on the Doomfist. Finds 3 kills in that fight.
Yeah, so far, very quick, very good fight for the side of Nisshoki, considering the fact that they are still in possession of this point. That's always the status you want to be here. Although, for the side of Shikigami, you get quicker fights, you get to go once again, maybe drain a few ultimates, but that doesn't work if SBT keeps throwing those self-destructs, and now they have to cope with the other self-destructs.
Oh, and that bomb forces out the early sound barrier there. Neothay hasn't to use that, but it has turned up pretty big here for Shikigami. They needed this fight desperately. This was their last chance, and they are going to be able to convert on it.
Yeah, a good claim to fame here from Shikigami, although they're not going to have too much left in the gas tank. In terms of their ultimates, they're going to have that Baptiste amplification matrix, so they may be able to claim a little bit more damage here, but right now it doesn't look like they're content to set on point. They're going to take a little bit of a forward position here, pushing up into the choke point of Nisshoki, and right now Nisshoki really going to have to cope, but they're going to be using an amplification matrix of their own.
Oh, but the ice wall is on the wrong side of the Ant Matrix, so it just gets melted immediately. There's an answer coming in from Abyss a little bit further back. It's hard to make use of that Ant Matrix for Shikigami, and they can't find any kills until Zafan eventually falls. Mitch with the long-range pin across the point has blown this wide open for Nisshoki. That bomb is going to have to do work here for SBT, and it does find some decent damage onto his opposite number, but all it's really doing is creating some space for Shikigami to stay on the point.
And it's buying them time, which is going to be essential for getting their ultimates and players back onto the field. We see two stuck in that May Blizzard. A good opportunity, but a nice response from the Immort.
Yeah, that immortality field might have just ended any hopes here for Shikigami as Lucid Science falls. It's just Neothay trying to keep this going on the point. The sound barrier is big with two other members there in time. Fred Stacks comes up clutch on the McCree, finds 3 to keep his team in map 1.
That is so wild. Neothay gonna actually be booping that Reinhardt mid-charge, takes the pin onto Abyss. Trepstack's able to just fan the hammer until the kill goes their way through sheer grit. The side of Shikigami is able to hold on. The question is, do they still have enough in the tank? Not many ultimates on either side for this next fight.
No, everybody was all in on that last fight. Z-Panther is going to have that Amp Matrix. But Lucid Science is going to be the one to step up in this moment, builds that shatter, throws it down. Here.
We see Mitch coming in on the Wrecking Ball, just trying to get a quick touch. I'm not sure Lucid Science needed to use that Earth Shatter that late into the fight after they had a couple of kills, but it's going to be going their way in any capacity, as so far the fight did go in their favor. This Diva Bomb has some change-ups, though.
Yeah, it does go right into the Immortality field, though, but Havoc still able to clean up off the back of it with the Meteor Strike, takes down Abyss, and now the point flips mid-fight. Nisshoki in control here. Shikigami having to make some magic happen. They're going to rely on that Deadeye. Trustx finds one, but will it be enough? Shikigami staying alive for the time being. There goes the round. They refused to let themselves be defeated.
Just a few feet too far for Mitch, who was on that Wrecking Ball, trying to fight out just a little bit, but you let off the gas just a little bit, and we're seeing this level of competition where your opponents will absolutely take advantage of it. Shikigami going to be breathing a sigh of relief after that, and now Nisshoki, they have to suddenly change up their tempo a little bit, what they were doing before as well this time around.
Yeah, indeed, but actually it is going to be Shikigami. It didn't quite work out for them on that first point here on Nepal, but they are confident in their ability. They are confident in Lucid Science and Stone to be able to come up clutch on these very mobile heroes and punish this very static comp, this brawly comp coming out from Nisshoki.
Interestingly enough, we're seeing Zafan on this sim going to be looking to get inside, get tucked in, and get those turrets set up as quickly as possible. Going to make it all that much harder for the side of Shikigami to get in there and start contesting this point, which they're going to have to do. It unlocks in 5 seconds.
Certainly, but in their mind, they're trying to win this first fight with all the poke damage they got between the Zen, the Pharah, the Sigma. There's so much damage just being thrown through these point entrances, but so far none of it is sticking. At least none of it has resulted in any kind of lethal opportunities for the side of Shikigami so far. Stone rotating around to the other side to join his team, but so far Mitch just holding firm with this Rhine Shield, not under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, but that pressure might soon change as we see Stone with this rocket barrage in such a confined room that can be absolutely lethal. We see it claim 1 Clover, now going to be down as well. No Immortality field to start.
Indeed, and there's the Gravitic Flux as well from SBT. That's going to be some easy cleanup there for the side of Shikigami. So they play it slow and steady. They give up control of the point there for free at the very start, but they build up those ults super quickly, and now they forced out some swaps from the side of Nisshoki.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right there. It's a common concept of losing the battle but winning the war, and although the war is not quite won yet, you do have possession, and that puts you in a very good spot here. We're actually going to be seeing wholesale swaps coming in from Nisshoki, something a little bit more dive-esque, trying to cope with that Pharah having a little bit of equivalent mobility.
I think they want to try to punish Abyss and the immobility of this Zenyatta, but that Transcendence just gets him out of dodge immediately, no worse for wear, and now how do you progress for Nisshoki? They are going to be able to take out Stone, but in the meantime, they've just been kited back by this backline of Shikigami, and they're not going to be able to find much on the latter half of this fight.
Yeah, Lucid Science going to be fine. I guess a note on the kill feed, as we see, it just caused so much zoning, and any threat that Nisshoki had to get onto point mitigated by those mines, as they now had to suddenly take a lot of damage or stand in very confined spaces.
Yeah, but now the ult advantage that Shikigami built up is pretty much gone. Stone, the only one close to an ultimate here, does find Havoc, gets a little bit of revenge for his support being taken out early in that fight, and now trying to press forward, find an opportunity to put down this barrage and seal the deal. There is going to put some damage down onto Panther, but it's going to be the rest of the squad who actually have Stones back there. Despite going down, they hang on.
Absolutely going to be having the Stones to hang on, and Nisshoki now going to be looking to go in this. We're looking towards last fight territory. They have that pulse bomb in pocket, but not quite enough to really continue pushing forward. They're going to have to deal with the Transcendence, a pulse bomb, and the minefields once again of the opposing team. Talk about an uphill battle, Shy Guy.
Oh, and now Stone swapping over the Echo of his own, takes out Panther so early in this fight. No Coalescence going to be coming through for Nisshoki, and they are falling left, right, and center. Another minefield on the point from Lucid Science. This map looked over, Waltham. I thought we were done after 2 points, but Shikigami, absolutely massive comeback there to take Nepal, to take map number 1.
Yeah, Shikigami, I feel like it was an instance of you forego that first map to get a feel for your opponents, because they started playing better and better as this game went along, right? It got a little bit hairline there towards the second map, where we saw a lot of those plays going back and forth, both teams, I believe, reaching that 99 and flipping it in that 99 as well. But once we hit that third map, we just saw a lot more dominance coming out from this team, and I wonder if that's a little bit of an indicator to what we're going to be seeing later on throughout this series.
Yeah, I mean, right now we've got it set up where we've got this really interesting kind of clash of styles, at least that in terms of what was displayed there on Nepal. You know, these very mobile compositions for Shikigami. It's very like flavor of the month right now. Wrecking Ball has been huge over the last 3 months or so in Overwatch, really coming to the forefront of the meta. But Nisshoki playing things much more old school. They are playing the Reinhardt. They're playing these brawl compositions with the Lucio, and there's a lot of times you can find a lot of value out of that, but it does struggle when you get spread out, you get pulled thin by these really mobile looks that Shikigami are throwing at them.
Yeah, absolutely. And now as we look towards this next map, because I always have to throw in that little disclaimer here, Shy Guy, where Control plays quite a bit different than some of the other map types we see. We see those escorts, we see those assaults, we see those hybrids, all play around a little bit more of a mobile or defender favored at times point. Where that's not really the case with Control. So now as this changes, we might see the complexion of these playstyles start to modulate even more. Nisshoki, we saw starting to make some adaptations in the back end of Nepal. It didn't quite come through in time, but the fact that they're willing to be a little bit more flexible, what they say, the branch that bends does not break. So I like seeing that perhaps that potential can come through for this team.
Yes, indeed. And now as we go into map number 2, a quick explainer of how our map pick and ban system works. Shikigami, as the winner of Nepal, now gets to ban one of the available maps from the pool, and then Nisshoki will choose the one that they want to go with. So Shikigami right now looks like they are going to ban Temple of Anubis. So that's one of our 3 assault maps off the board for the rest of this series. And now Nisshoki will choose from the remaining maps.
Yeah, not too surprising. I mean, we touched on it at the beginning of this. Assault maps generally not too favored. It seems to me that there's always 2 types of assault maps. Ones that either, you get 1 or 2 points and then the other team barely makes it 1 point or not even 1 point, or you have those maps that just go on forever, right? We're talking 6, 8-point rounds or 8-point maps that just seem to have that tendency to go long. So I can understand why that would kind of wear down on the players' mentalities so far, but overall, definitely liking what I'm seeing from both of these teams. Again, I think both of them have their moments. It's just going to come down to how they refine this as they continue on through these maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And now as Nisshoki kind of start to look towards what they want for map number 2, given what we saw there on Nepal, given their propensity towards those Reinhardt comps, at least on map number 1, something that immediately springs to mind when you say Reinhardt, it's King's Row all the way. Like that's like my expectation. That's every team's favorite map in a lot of cases, and I would not be surprised at all if that's where we wind up for map number 2 here.
Yeah, Kings Row kind of a team and fan favorite when you get down to it. The aesthetic looks very nice. It's kind of one of those maps that, the players have had the literal most amount of time to study. I think there may be only a couple of maps that were even out in beta before it, but even then it's recognized as one of Overwatch's longest standing maps. So a lot of preference there. If you're going to be picking a hybrid, there's a very good chance it's Kings Row. We usually don't see the Numbanis as much. We don't see the Blizzard Worlds as much. And it feels like, again, you talked about it, Kings Row plays for a definite play style. And for a team like Nisshoki, whose dive is perhaps not their preferred, I would not be surprised to see something that can be a little bit more Rhine leaning. Although I think Lucid Science put their name in the hat for MVP when it came to their tank play on second point Nepal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they really stepped up there, and obviously they've shown us the ball already as well, and it looks like they might actually get another opportunity to go in that exact direction as Nisshoki going with a little bit of a surprise pick, at least in my mind here. It's going to be Gibraltar. For map number 2. This is very interesting. Obviously, a map that is really kind of wide open in a lot of cases, to a lot of high ground to work with. So it does not necessarily lend itself to the brawl that we saw out of Nisshoki on map number 1. So maybe they're going to show us a little bit of a different flavor as we move through the rest of this series.
Absolutely, and I wanna kind of not redact, but I want to edit a point I just made. We did not see the dive work out so well for Nisshoki, but you could also consider that they switched into it rather late, right? Shikigami already had quite a bit of percentage on the board. They already had a little bit of those ults built up. So even if your opponent's only at 50, 40% on those final, ticks of a control map, if you switch halfway through, you're not going to be able to have the ults. They're going to start, slowly rolling you in those fights just because they may have 2 in pocket. They only need to invest 1. And if those fights go fast enough, you'll never get the chance to build those ults.
No, I mean, that's kind of exactly what we saw there on Village. Like, the Coalescence never came up for Nisshoki. I don't think we ever saw the Primal Rage either for Mitch. So, like, a lot of the crucial tools that you are relying on in that composition, like we didn't get to duplicate either, which, I mean, there's so many things in that situation where Nisshoki just kind of found themselves in a very awkward spot on Nepal and were unable to make that work, given the disadvantages that they were facing. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are like a bad dive team, or it's even like something that they aren't incredibly adept at. It's just in that particular case, it was not able to come up clutch for them, but Gibraltar will definitely give them another opportunity to kind of flex their muscles here.
Yeah, absolutely. Love seeing it. Love seeing these teams kind of make these picks that, we might not know them for, but at the same time, it's kind of like we get to discover them for this, right? We don't know them yet, but we might. And folks, while we do have a minute before the game starts, do want to remind you folks, rather, to vote for MVP. Follow us, sub on Twitch, wherever you like your preferred social medias. We love having you. We love having all eyes on us. I mean, we're casters, Shy Guy. It's what we do. We love having people pay attention to us.
Yeah, of course. It's in our blood for sure. But the players also love the attention that it brings, and the more eyes that we can get on these matches, the better at any time here. And as we get into Gibraltar, I'm very curious what we're going to see from the DPS on both these teams. You know, we've seen some kind of interesting pocket picks, the Pharah out from Stone, the Doomfist from Havoc, but Gibraltar is not going to be a map that really favors kind of either of those styles. We're going to see a little bit more kind of long range poke. The Tracer becomes incredibly valuable in this situation. So I'm curious exactly how we're going to kind of play this one out.
Yeah, and it's worth noting we will be seeing a support change up coming through for one of these teams. It's going to be Pinhead, who comes in trying to look towards that break. So Nisshoki perhaps having a different mindset for this map. However, as we see these tanks lining up, Winston's going to be a mainstay, but it's a question between the old school dive tanks and the double bubble compositions coming in. Looks like Mitch is just going to get right into it.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to watch and see what SBT can get done, but already it's Havoc who finds the opening pick, just throwing those sticky bombs in through the doorway, finds Abyss. Both teams now losing their Anas very early, but Stone does kind of find himself caught out a little bit there. Him and Lucid Science separated from the rest of the team, so indeed it's going to be Nisshoki who gets the upper hand first here on Gibraltar and gets that cart moving.
Yeah, an unfortunate spot for Shikigami, as if they have just a few stragglers remaining. They didn't quite get picked off, but if the aggression were to really come through from Nisshoki, that could cost them even more progress on this first point. Not going to quite be the case, as that Winston able to get relocated onto the blue boxes and allow for that more dominant position, at least for a moment.
Indeed, in Nisshoki, they're rotating into the server room here, which is always an incredibly valuable piece of real estate here on Gibraltar. Lucid Science again here going to be one of the early ones to fall, getting so much attention placed onto him, and as soon as that happens, Pinhead able to push forward on the brig, finds 3 kills in the fight, and Nisshoki, we can see why they picked Gibraltar here. They have come out swinging.
Now, I'll give you a couple options here, Shy Guy. That last fight that we just saw, Shikigami, they either had Lucid Science getting a little bit too antsy, dove in a little bit too aggressively as Winston, or the communication wasn't quite there for the bubble to really sustain the life, or just got shredded incredibly fast. All three seem like incredible possibilities given the caliber of these teams so far.
No, certainly, and now the ult starting to roll through here for Nisshoki. The rally, the primal rage coming in from Witch has just gotten Abyss completely bottled up, but no kills for the time being. Neither team really able to make anything of this, but Mitch right back in with the nano boost is going. The retreat here for Nisshoki.
Yeah, and that is... I'm actually going to call that a very good ultimate usage from SBT. You lock down that brig knowing that Pinhead could just easily shield bash out of that room, regroup with their team, then all of a sudden you might be having another server room situation in there. So good wherewithal to know that this is a vulnerable target. We need to lock them down, remove that healing threat as well as the CC that can come in from Pinhead, and then we can focus on the cart. Then we can focus on those primary fights that we should really be taking to stop this movement.
And that fight win is so crucial for them to regain some control here on the defense. There's the Deadeye. It catches out Panther, who was trying to rotate around. So even trade right now, both teams losing a support, but it is Shikigami who retains control of the high ground, and from that vantage point, they're going to be able to close out this fight.
Yeah, and so far, I have to speak this for... We're seeing these divas go into the self-destruct, and after pretty much the fight has already been lost. And one has to question, is it poor communication, is it bad wherewithal, or is there an actual strategic reason behind it? Because best case scenario, the diva's able to get the bomb off, get remeched, and then still get torn apart because the rest of her team's just not there to back up.
Stone tries to go in for the aggressive pulse bomb, won't find anything, but it is keeping Nisshoki a little bit bottled up. But Zafan, absolutely massive there. The 2K on the ultimate blows this point wide open. Shikigami, they're pretty much wet paper mache at this point, as Nisshoki just going to plow through them, push this payload towards its completion. Will there be an opportunity for a contest?
We do see the Winston coming in. It's going to be the nano boost, but some nice blocking coming in from Mitch, cutting everybody off from the Winston, so it's just him on cart. Excellent performance there, held by the main tank.
Indeed, but Lucid Science does have the primal to buy some more time, and the rest of Shikigami is into this fight. They're being battered around by Mitch with this primal rage, and eventually they will be cleared off the point. It was a very chaotic attempt there from Shikigami, and they just quite don't have the tools for it.
Not quite. It was a close-looking fight, but again, my praise goes to the main tank of Nisshoki. I'm looking at Mitch right now. That excellent play to cut off the Ana healing, to cut off any DPS damage that could have been done there. Excellent opportunity there that was just capitalized on by this attacking team of Nisshoki, who now have a couple ultimates going into this next fight to work with.
Ooh, Trev stacks absolutely domes havoc there. Picks the Echo out of the sky, gives them an advantage as they try to reclaim some space, buy some time on this defense, and they will do so for the time being. The tank's now pressing forward here for Shikigami. Lucid Side wants to go in deep to follow up on that biotic grenade, but it's going to be Trevstacks who continues to find these picks, and even with some ultimates committed here by Nisshoki, I'm not sure that they have the damage to really finish these members off.
We're going to be seeing 2 primals coming out, so a big commitment in that capacity, but again, it's just not much, especially when you go with the duplicate onto a Winston. You lose a lot of that damage that the Echo is just capable of. Even if you go into the primal rage form, the DPS is still just not going to count in the same capacity. A lot of ultimates committed there for Nisshoki. They may be regretting that. They have the nanos to try to reclaim some, maybe get that Winston ultimate back, but they're going to be looking down the barrel of 4, soon to be 6 after this fight if they're super conservative on their opponent's end.
Yeah, nice effort to get Trevstacks off of the high ground early on in this fight, but the Bob is going to come out, and Nisshoki are just completely zoned away from even being able to engage in this fight. Lucid Science dives into the backline, draws all their attention. In the meantime, everybody is just dying up front.
A little bit of a rough spot there, that Bob really helping to divide the field a little bit as well, just providing a 7th point of focus for this team. You can't just focus on your 1v1s. If there's one more person on the opposing team, one more, I guess, threat on the opposing team as a better way of saying it, but slowly we're starting to see a couple more ultimates build up for Nisshoki, but their opponents are still being very conservative. Stone starting off strong.
Oh, indeed. Just takes the Brig right out of the fight. Zoot Panther can't do anything with Lucid Science right on top of him, and this fight is already over here. Those early picks are so vital, and right now it feels like Nisshoki are just they're struggling to even get into these engagements. They don't have the range to outpoke, but Zafan going over the Widow might give them an opportunity for some big picks.
However, when there's that Widow on the field, you always have to keep in mind that might make them a little bit of an easier dive target. They're going to have to keep that grapple on cooldown and make sure that they stay safe. But with the nano, it's looking to wreak havoc.
Indeed, and now has the primal as well. The bomb gets thrown in for good measure. Will take down Pinhead. That's a lot committed there by Shikigami. 3 ultimates to find 1 kill. But it does buy them more time, to the point that Nisshoki only going to have 1 last attempt at this.
Yeah, and more importantly, it does not allow that Widowmaker to get any momentum, get any good positioning. If you win that fight outright, that Widowmaker cannot get a good positioning to threaten Cart from a distance. But Stone going to be taken down early on is the threat you need.
Yeah, that's exactly what the idea was here for Nisshoki, and now we see Zephan looking for a bit more. They have gotten the Ana out of position. Abyss, despite a good biotic grenade there, cannot keep themselves alive. So a 2-man advantage here for Nisshoki. Stone trying to even it out, but recalls right into the self-destruct. It's still a very scrappy fight at the moment, with tanks diving deep into the backline for both teams.
And it's crucial to remember that the defender's spawn is going to be a little bit quicker, quite a bit quicker, just on walk back than the attackers. So with that being said, any members lost for the attackers is going to cost them significantly more.
Yeah, and now it's looking like they're getting whittled down pretty seriously here. It's 4 members remaining up for Nisshoki. Zephan, right in the thick of the fight here on the Widowmaker, is very vulnerable, but they take down Neophay. This is still very winnable for both sides, but Mitch doing work on the monkey gets left right before the primal, and no one's on the point.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. Mitch diving into just backup spawns for a second, probably intending to get back to cart with that primal, but because they're slept, they can't make the primal transform. They can't reset their jump cooldown to get to cart, and because of that, we're going to be seeing it at literally 0.01 meters from 80.
And you got to give it to Shikigami. Like they really buckled down on this third point defense, and to me it felt like the player who really stepped up was Trev Stacks. Once he got on that Ash, had a lot of room to work with those defensive high ground positions. He was absolutely popping off on that hit scan DPS, and definitely a big reason why Shikigami was able to put themselves now in a position where they can go up 2-0. They basically just need to finish the map, or a little bit less than that even, and they will have a commanding lead.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out, there's just so much action going on. Nisshoki wasn't necessarily at a certain point playing to finish. Once they started losing too many members, they were playing to see how far they could get the cart, right? Because in this, especially towards this third point, the amount of distance you get matters so crucially when this third point can be the absolute burden on some teams.
Certainly, and that's why the C9 there is going to be very painful for Nisshoki, unless, of course, they can come up with a defensive effort here to match what Shikigami just did. Right now, we're going to just see some poking and prodding from both teams as they vie for this high ground. The attempt here for Shikigami to take a lot of space slowly with this McCree is working out quite well. They've got all their members up on this high ground, and they're headed for the brawl.
And there is Zafan still just holding down on the low ground, able to take down those stragglers who have to drop down for a moment of reprieve or just to get away from the rest of the team. The cleanups there almost by a nature of this composition.
Absolutely. The bio nade there, I gotta shout it out. Panther coming through huge on the Ana there. I mean, you can see already has the ultimate available here, which Abyss is going to be able to match on the other side, so I expect to see some very angry monkeys here in just a second.
We perhaps will be seeing a lot of lightning and fists in general just being thrown around this area, and already we can see Shikigami deciding that they want to perhaps take a little bit more of a methodical look to this. They're not getting as aggressive into those small close-end areas, but the Nano will initiate for the defense.
Indeed, but now there's a primal Winston right behind them. They aren't trapped in the hallway with Shikigami. It's the other way around as Lucid Science goes pretty mad. There's two Winstons available for the side of Nisshoki as they try to hang on here on the defense, but they've just been scattered to the winds by that aggressive engage from Shikigami, and it does look like the cart going to earn a little bit of progress here.
Will be making progress, and now as the defenders start to claw back perhaps some of those kills, Shikigami might have to start reconsidering, although they do have easy access to this high ground considering how far this cart's moved. So Nisshoki gonna have to be a little bit careful to take those engagements.
Yeah, Lucid Science overstepped a little bit, but they maintain control of the high ground, so they've got their staging area for this next fight. It does look like we're going to have a pause. I think it might be Spice who had a little bit of a technical issue there, a disconnect on his internet. I saw the Diva Mech, just walking straight into the wall there, and indeed that is going to be the case. So we will get Spice back into the game. That is going to be a little bit awkward here for Nisshoki. They'll be going back to spawn, and it's going to be a brief window of 5v6. We'll see if Shikigami is going to be able to kind of capitalize on that when we come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to mention, not only is this a rough opportunity just losing one of your players in the short game, but also all that diva progress that was made towards a bomb, anything that could be made for zoning now going to be wiped off the board. Whenever you have a player drop back, come back in, it always resets their ultimates. So a little bit of a rough spot there now for Nisshoki, how they kind of want to play this moving forward, whether they just go for ultimate, I guess, generation mitigation for their opposing teams. They just try to pull back and not feed over as much health pool as they can, or if they try to hold out until the D.Va can get back in. The D.Va, not the slowest of tanks. That'd probably go to Reinhardt or Orisa. So overall, a couple decisions that Nisshoki still has to make here, even though this fight suddenly doesn't turn out so well for him.
Yeah, luckily though, D.Va's used to having their ultimates reset when they get staggered out, oftentimes having to go back to spawn to swap and get themselves a new mech. But the big problem that I see Nisshoki facing right now is they are staring right down the barrel of SBT with another Graviton Surge, and absolutely nothing to stop it. There is nothing to even give him a bit of pause here, and if he can find a couple members grouped up as we come out of this, then that could definitely spell trouble here for the first point defense of Nisshoki, which, you gotta say, has been pretty stellar so far.
And it really needed to be stellar, right? They don't want to let it get to that third point once again. And Hangar can be such a wish-washy type of map stage where sometimes you have really good holds on it and sometimes you just can't get your footing at all. But absolutely, you're correct on that. You wanted to hold this first point as long as possible. We're doing a very good job of that. But I want to go back to the point you made about that Zarya Grav coming in from SBT. And the question I have is, we know and they know that they are up one member. Do you even commit the Zarya Grav, or do you feel confident enough that you can win this fight off that alone and then have it for those next phases? It's an interesting choice that I'm curious to see the decision-making process behind Shikigami.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what Nisshoki really tries to do here, because if they just try to disengage as much as possible, which is kind of the natural reaction when you have, when you're fighting a man down, is to fall back, wait for Spice to get back into the fight. But that grab is something that can just say, hey, no, you don't get to go anywhere. You cannot run away. We are going to take this fight here and now. So we might get an opportunity for that. Both teams already back into the action. We'll see how this goes here. For right now, it's Shikigami with control, the high ground, and immediate engage actually coming out from Nisshoki. But Mitch slept with the primal. Now the rally coming down from Neothane means absolutely nothing going to be gained here for Nisshoki. But they do get Spice back into the fight, so damage is not too bad there.
Yeah, fortunately that Nano was able to get Mitch to just force a lot of attention, meaning that the attacking Shikigami couldn't quite get as aggressive as they wanted to. But with this D-Mech going in onto Spice, that might not be the same tempo.
Yeah, the D.Va diving in a little bit too deep there, and now once again, SBT free reign to throw out this grab should it be needed, but right now, doesn't even seem like there is any concern here for the side of Shikigami. They're just going to be able to push this payload on forward, hang on to those ultimates, which they've got 3 right now, another 2 very close in waiting.
We see that, or we hear that rather, the High Noon coming out, takes a sleep dart, but not before they take down Havoc. So a good opening here for this attacking team. They're going to be investing a lot of ultimates into this, and at the cost of just 1, but Zafin turning this around.
Oh, indeed. Listen, Science in the thick of things with the Primal and the Nano on top of him, and there is the Graviton Surge going to be committed. Shikigami not willing to give up this fight even after the Hero Pulse Bomb coming through from Zafan. And it looks like that might have been a little bit of a mistake. They try to commit as much as possible, but it's a 2v2 on the cart, a tank and a DPS for both sides. Everybody trying to get back into this fray as quickly as possible. But now Trevsek's going to have to try and make some magic on the Doomfist. Cannot take out Mitch. The Nano comes down onto the Monkey, and now he's zoning the remaining members of Shikigami away from this fight. Neothay trying his best to do everything possible, but Havoc with that copied Doomfist. We've already seen him do it earlier on in this series on that hero, and now gets a chance to take over as Nisshoki looking to get the full hold here. The bomb on the point for good measure takes out SBT. There goes Stone to the remake, and Nisshoki with an emphatic statement here on Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah, that was an excellent performance by Nisshoki, considering, I guess, especially considering, rather, that break we saw in their gameplay where they just had to wait it out for Spice to get back. They were able to deliver. They come in big, and the scoreline's now going to be showing that we're all tied up here, and I can't think of a better way to go into this.
No, indeed, we are going to be having a back and forth series. This is not going to be any kind of one-sided affair, as both teams have shown. They have their places where they can flex their muscles, and this time around, it's Nisshoki who have got their pump on. They are feeling it after that win on Watch Point Gibraltar, and I gotta say, we were a little bit, barely. It's hard to even say concerned because it was one map, but I was a little bit concerned in terms of their flexibility and what they were going to be able to bring to a map like this, but they just silenced my doubts completely.
Yeah, again, Nisshoki, I'm high up on their tank play right now. I think their supports are enabling their tanks very well as well. We saw that Ana multiple times use the nano on the Winston. It's a very common combination right now, but there's a reason it's so common, and that's because it's so dang effective. I mean, we see, the nano go onto the Winston, has a lot of that damage reduction from the nano. As soon as they get low, they can pop primal, basically rejuvenate 1000 extra hit points, make it so much harder to deal with them. And if you're focusing on this Winston the entire time, you're not going to notice Zafan, you're not going to notice Havoc, who are constantly dealing that very solid damage coming through. They weren't quite able to get it 3 points, but Nisshoki, they didn't need to.
No, definitely needed. And another thing you're talking about, Panther and the way they were playing on the Ana, that hero or that role swap or the substitution rather that we saw coming for Nisshoki Pinhead on the Brigitte, really making an impact, kind of shutting down some of the dive that we saw out of Shikigami on map number 1. Really made things difficult for Stone, especially on that tracer, to get in there and really find a tremendous amount of value. So that is another element to keep an eye on throughout this series. If Pinhead continues to stay in, if Nisshoki continue to play that Brigitte, how does Shikigami kind of react to that and try to find value elsewhere?
Well, it's something I wanted to allude to at the beginning of this map, right? Normally, when you see substitutions, it's because you think a player is more geared towards either a map, a play style, or a character, right? You either see, oh, this person's like uh, exceptionally good at gardens, or exceptionally good at Brig, or exceptionally good at playing a dive variant of a specific type of character. And if that is not the case for the equivalent player on Shikigami, you're going to have that natural kind of disconnect where one player is just a little bit more refined, a little bit more honed. And I think we definitely saw it there. It seemed like Nisshoki was content to take those battles in those close-up areas. We saw it a number of times where Pinhead was helping their team push forward in those small server rooms, in those small side pocket rooms where they could just get so close where that Brig really makes the opposing team uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And now as we even up our series here, we've got just like a lot of kind of questions that remain to be answered here as we move forward. Now Nisshoki get the opportunity to ban out a map. It's going to be Rialto taken off the board for the remainder of the series, which is I'll shed a little bit of a tear. Rialto, one of my favorite maps for sure. But now it's up to Shikigami to see where they want to take us as they try to swing the momentum of this series back in their favor.
Yeah, what I'm, I guess, fearing for these teams, but anxiously awaiting for as a caster is a sort of pendulum play. One map goes one way, the other map goes the opposite way, and then it just keeps going back and forth between these two teams until we see a 5, maybe a 6 map set if we're lucky enough. But right now we'll just so far count on the 5. But in order for that to be the case, Shikigami kind of has to pick themselves up, dust off from Gibraltar, come back into this with a fresh mindset, and they have the opportunity to do that. Shikigami going to be opting into Blizzard World, it sounds.
Okay. I can definitely understand this. This is a map to me where, especially on that first point, we're gonna be able to see Lucid Science go back to the Wrecking Ball. It's definitely something that they could have done on Gibraltar, but in a lot of ways the Winston a little bit more favored to the kind of the high ground control that you really need to be able to take on a map like Gibraltar. Here things are much more spread out, much more on kind of like a single elevation plane for the most part, and in that scenario the Wrecking Ball can find a tremendous amount of value.
Yeah, absolutely love looking forward to it. That first point, again, can be so dominant. But as we look towards that second point, I start wondering what these teams are going to be strategizing towards. That giant pylon area in the middle can give not the highest of grounds. We certainly see more effective high grounds in maps like Numbani that I mentioned earlier, or Watchpoint, which we just saw. So definitely curious to see if we see, maybe those Winstons come out for Nisshoki. It seemed to get them a lot of value getting that rapid contest onto the high ground. Certainly has its value there. But speaking of value, folks, show these players how much you value them by voting for them in the MVP polls as well. Follow us on all the socials. We love to have you. But right now we are just waiting for these teams to get ready, Shy Guy. And this is a match that I am so much waiting for just based off the storylines these teams have given us so far.
No, certainly. This is going to be a thriller, one that hopefully will go down to the wire, as we've seen incredible performances from both sides. Shikigami on map number 1 pull off an incredible comeback. Nisshoki there on Gibraltar answer back with a full hold on point A, and it's just two Titans kind of trading blows for the time being, and now is an opportunity for one of them to put themselves on match point, and that kind of position, that kind of advantage is absolutely invaluable here as we progress forward in the series. It is going to be Shikigami on the defense here of Gibraltar, so I'm very curious if what they're going to be able to do to enable Trev Stacks once again on the Ash, because we saw on Gibraltar, if they get going, what they are able to accomplish. It's just a matter of putting them in the right positions and avoiding them being kind of an easy dive target on the other side.
Yeah, and it's not really a surprise if we look towards the attacking team, what they have lined up so far. We see the Winston, the Diva, the Tracer, the Echo. This is, so far pretty much what we saw on Gibraltar. And so far, Nisshoki seems like one of those teams that when they find a comp that works for them, when they find something that they can really utilize to their advantage, they just keep applying pressure with it to the opponents. We'll see if maybe this composition from Shikigami changes that aspect of things a little bit. Abyss, again, going to have those Discord orbs that can really put hurt down if you're caught out.
Yeah, certainly, but does make the team a little bit vulnerable to these dives. I mean, the Zen, not the easiest hero to kind of defend yourself when those tanks start flying in at you, which is exactly what's going to happen. Spice and Mitch up to the high ground. Havoc there with the follow through is going to force Shikigami back, and exactly what I'm talking about. Abyss a little bit vulnerable there in the backline. Zafin finds the opening pick there. Neothay goes down as well to the sticky bombs, and with no supports remaining in this fight, I don't know that Shikigami are really going to be able to do much. Lucid Science has a great position to actually kind of stall the progress here, but eventually burned down by that focusing beam.
Yeah, Pinhead going to be able to get the shield bash if those shenanigans for the Wrecking Ball, the spin to win, as they're known in my pub games, continues on. So not going to be able to get too much benefit in terms of stall out time for that. And right now, we're seeing this attacking team, Nisshoki, starting off with a very good 5 minutes and 20 going into the second phase. They're also going to be having the self-destruct, the pulse bomb, or rather the remech, excuse me, not the self-destruct, nano boost and the pulse bomb online for this next fight. So if they're able to get some contest on this high ground, can be very dominant.
Indeed, there again, Mitch, with the nano boost. We've seen it time and time again in this series, and this time Trev Stacks gets slept up as well, and the dive not quite able to finish off that Ash, but still, look at how much ground Shikigami just has had to give up in this early contest.
They've certainly given up quite a bit of objective movement here, although Trev Stacks still trying to just play oppressor with this dynamite, knowing that they can just build up almost free ult charge while they try to push through. Bob going in perhaps a little bit too deep off the back end.
Yeah, but does provide some decent zoning here. Eventually will be taken out alongside Trev Stacks. So both sides of the duo going down there. SBT with a nice Gravitic Flux will take down one of the big threats, but Havoc going to answer back with one of his own. Gets taken out. That rock is absolutely massive from SBT. The Sigma is showing up here, but can they maintain control of this cart? There's the Diva Bomb. It'll take out Neothay, and with that go the hopes of Shikigami.
Yeah, Spice really shaping up their Diva Bombs so far since I made that comment during Gibraltar, where now we're just seeing it used to put a lot of pressure onto this cart. It's exactly how you want to use those Diva Bombs. Even if you force an opponent to have to contest cart, they're going to have to wear their shields down. They're going to have to take that hit from the Diva Bomb, else they just give up that final point for free. A good decision there and a good investment by Spice.
Indeed, and once again, the time is a bit overwhelming here for Nisshoki as they move in towards this final point. There's an engage with the slam in the minefield from Lucid Science, but Mitch unopposed right now in the backline. Once again, the Nano Primal just finding tremendous value. Abyss will take them out, so a bit of a punish finally coming in here for the side of Shikigami as they stabilize a little bit, but they've got to win out the remainder of this fight for the time being. It's just kind of stalling the inevitable.
Now, one thing Shikigami seems to lack with this composition is the comfortability to play within those close range areas. Yes, they have the Brig, but you have that Diva, you have that, you have the Wrecking Ball, who can't quite get that speed up if he's trapped in a small confined area. Once again, Abyss getting dove and responds.
The Transcendence is good, but out of position a little bit there and forced to use the ultimate very early. Luckily, they're able to punish Pinhead there, so Shikigami secure in the defense for the time being, and now trying to regain some control of this high ground as Abyss pressing forward with those orbs flying, takes down Havoc, and now the rest of Nisshoki going to have to back off here, give up a lot of space. And you know, we kind of saw a similar thing on Gibraltar where the first 2 points were pretty smooth sailing, and then Shikigami buckles down.
Yeah, and now as we see Nisshoki going to be lining up quite a few ultimates to work with here, but they're going to have to cope with this Diva self-destruct. So far, do a good job, but it prompts the bubble out of Mitch, and now Havoc going to be going with the duplicate onto the Brig.
Indeed, looking to get the rally there. I think kind of just had to use it to make sure they stayed alive in that situation as this very chaotic brawl gets underway. Lucid Science stunned out of the slam there, and Nisshoki have the numbers on the cart. They have the Brig still alive, but Trevstax has something to say about this. Comes back in on the Ash, and the poke damage coming out from this Zen Ash duo is really finding a lot of value.
It really is. I mean, you talk about those synergies that exist. Headshot damage with Ash already so immense. When you add the fact that there's an even increased multiplier onto that, it's going to be brutal. But speaking of brutal, Mitch getting absolutely slammed in the back corner after having that nano invested.
Yeah, I think he thought he might have an opportunity to get onto Abyss and find an opening pick there. But again, the Transcendence will shut that down. So, you know, Shikigami, they're holding firm for the time being, playing this very, spread out defense, trying to kite back as much as possible with the Zen and the Ash, and so far it's been very difficult for Nisshoki to really close the gap.
Now, as we see the pulse bomb going to be starting things off very well for the defense, and something I want to point out here is we're actually seeing this Ash and Zen play very firmly together, and that's so the Ash can use the coach gun, prevent that Winston from getting as close as they'd want with that dive. So a good understanding of how those heroes, aside from just the Discord benefit, can really synergize with each other.
Yeah, certainly. They're cutting down on some of the weaknesses of the Zen, which is that he, doesn't have any way to escape once you get on top of him. If you got a whip shot, you got a coach gun to kind of deter any of those diving members of Nisshoki. It's great. And now we do see some pressure put on the backline. Zafin able to one clip down Trevstax. Neothe is gone as well, and with those two members out of the fray, there's not really much that Abyss and the rest of the crew can do. So Shoki finally punched through here and pushed this payload on in towards the finish line, but just a minute left for them to seal the deal.
This is absolutely what I love to see from the tanks, just getting as far forward as you can. There's going to be the Wrecking Ball on point, taking a little bit of a nap, but can only do so much. Mitch actually getting 2 kills with the Primal is a great start.
Oh, make it 3. The main tank putting the team on his back, and the bomb from Spice will close things out. Can't really blame SBT and Stone for getting caught by that one. They had to be on the cart, but the damage, it had already been done. Mitch, with an excellent performance, is getting crazy amounts of resources from his team, so make no mistake about that, but is putting them to great use.
Oh, I would certainly say I have to agree with that. And Nisshoki, I could hear a collective sigh of relief when they realized this is not going to be like Gibraltar. They are going to be getting that final third point. So overall, a good change up for them. They put their best foot forward. The question now is, can Shikigami respond like they did in Nepal, or will they respond like they did in Gibraltar? And so far, I'm not sure we're seeing a Nepal response.
No, definitely not. They have looked quite a bit more mortal here on these last couple of maps, as this dive engine of Nisshoki has really just spun up and been going crazy on Gibraltar and now Blizzard World. We saw some moments of brilliance, on that third point for Shikigami, but you can't expect them to hold out there forever, and that's pretty much what you were asking after they had given up point A and B so quickly.
Changes coming through. Not too much on the attacking side either. We're going to, again, see if Lucid Science can use this Wrecking Ball. Perhaps try to dislodge off of anybody they may suspect on being that high ground, but so far it looks like the defense in the showcase got to be playing fairly on and close to points.
Yeah, they're playing pretty passive right now, but this makes a lot of sense, when you look at where their backline is positioned. They have a lot of safety up there. It's very difficult for this comp of Shikigami to really put much pressure onto players like Pinhead and Panther. So so far so good here for Nisshoki, but now they're in the position where they've got to take a fight.
They are, and Mitch caught in a very uncomfortable corner without the rest of their team to really cover them. They got a little bit of healing from the Ana, but with Spice going down, this defensive side's going to be reeling a little bit. They've already given up that first point. Now they just have to try to play line of sight from those lethal characters.
Yeah, it's just been slow and steady, kind of choking out Nisshoki here for the attackers as they push forward. The payload, or the point, about to go over here. But it doesn't seem to matter. The kills flow like water for Shikigami, and slow and steady was the recipe there on point A, and now we'll see if they can press forward, get a little bit of positioning advantage here on point B, as look, you see these tanks already securing high ground control.
And that's exactly how you'd want to be playing this area, knowing that that high ground is so central to so much of this map, right? It overlooks most of the cart's progress path. And now we're going to be seeing Mitch try to get up there, get some contests, so perhaps a bit too confident from Shikigami coming in right away, but they are going to be going in with the Flux.
Yeah, indeed, does pick up 3, but not any kills off the back of that, and maybe even a bit of an overcommitment here for Shikigami as they lose 2, still throwing out the Transcendence like they think they can win this fight, but I just don't believe that is the case anymore.
Yeah, it certainly looks a little bit grim there. Those 2 ultimates, I'd give a little bit of forgiveness on the Gravitic Flux, but the Transcendence was perhaps just a bit too late. And now with this, it allows the defenders to get repositioned. And when you talk positioning, that Widowmaker is not something you just want to give free positioning up to. But again, that's a very susceptible dive target going in for the Wrecking Ball.
Speak of the devil, there goes Stone. Just takes FN completely out of this fight with Spice down as well. It's just going to have to be a complete retreat here for Nisshoki. They've given up a lot of ground. They should be able to recontest here with both tanks alive, but they will be out of a bit of a disadvantage for a short while. Bob coming in deep into the back line is going to be a pretty difficult thing to deal with here, but the bomb from Spice, it just clears so much room. Everybody from Shikigami just having to back off in the middle of that, and now the reinforcements are here for the defenders. The Gravitic Flux in from Havoc as he uses the duplicate to great effect here, takes out SBT, finds Neothay on the back end of it, and now things looking a little bit better for the defenders.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. This is, when you talk about second points on hybrids, on escorts, you always love seeing that cart, if you're on the defense, almost get to second and then holding, because it makes the walk back so much longer for the attacking team. It makes the positioning for the attacking team perhaps struggle a little bit here. There's going to be a lot of ways for them to get on high ground here on Blizzard World. But still, they're going to have to deal with Zafan on that high ground of their own. And there's so many angles, especially with those infra sites, they're not going to be able to get the sneak.
No, definitely not. So both teams gonna have a very clear idea. They know where everyone is positioned for the time being, but it is Shikigami playing this very, very slow. That has been their style. They're very methodical with how they take, you know, a position across the map, and they've got the high ground control to work with to get Abyss into position, potentially to do a lot of damage. But there's the Transcendence forced out. What can they get off this? They're going to commit on the fight with the Gravitic Flux, but Panther now throws that Nano again onto Mitch, who's going to go in with the Primal. We've seen this combo so many times, and it's been really successful, but this time it's just not going to be enough for Nisshoki, as Mitch is left all alone on the point, and there we go.
Yeah, Mitch buying a lot of space from a few members of Shikigami, but those few remaining members from Shikigami able to be cohesive, find those weaker targets who might not have that same backup, that same damage resistance that a nano boosted primal raging Winston might, and tear them apart. And because of that, you kind of lose the forest for the trees if you're the main tank player there. But another dive coming in to try to give it another shot.
Yeah, but they're going face first into the rally out from Neothe there. The bomb committed by Spice, and this one not going to find pay dirt. So an opportunity for Shikigami to continue pressing forward. The slam there onto Mitch will take out the main tank, and SBT now has so much room to operate and throw in these orbs and put down a tremendous amount of damage. Nisshoki forced all the way back to the spawn.
Yeah, and Shikigami looking to be in a very dominant spot, as you mentioned, Shy Guy. The pulse bomb going to be going out, causing that Undead to have to do a little bit of a backstep, meaning that they're not going to be able to get as good positioning. Now they have 2 minutes to try to win this basic final fight. It's going to be the Transcendence and the Gravitic Flux to start her off.
Oh, indeed, and it's absolutely massive from SBT. As Shikigami just looking dominant here on this final point of Blizzard World. They will cruise into this checkpoint. And one thing I want to point out very quickly, didn't get a chance to mention it immediately in the fight, but Havoc pops the duplicate there, copies the Wrecking Ball, and I don't think I have ever seen that much HP disappear so quickly. That was gone in a flash. They didn't get to use a single ability, not even like build up to an ultimate. They didn't get to grapple, they didn't get to slam, they got to do absolutely nothing.
A little bit of a very strong, I say a little bit, a very strong read there coming in from Shikigami. Plus, you know, Wrecking Ball, a very big circular target. So, you know, if you're practicing in your basic aim labs trainers or your basic aim trainers in general, you're going to be able to hit those shots. But I absolutely agree. A good response coming in from these teams. And that's what you need if you're Shikigami. Now they have themselves about a minute and a half, almost a minute and a half of time bank over their opponents. Both teams did finish with some time left on the clock, so that means that we're going to see at least a minimum of 1 minute for each.
Indeed. But the thing is, Nisshoki looked so much better on the attack, where they were the team kind of taking the initiative, where they were the ones choosing how every fight kind of kicked off and got started. That looked so much more comfortable for them, and now they're back in that position. They'll need to figure out something for the defensive side of things, but for now they're in their comfort zone, and they'll have an opportunity to at least kind of swing the pressure back over to Shikigami if they can put up a good attack here.
And let's not forget that Nisshoki was the team that kind of won first a little bit quicker than their opponents. They won it pretty handedly, and I would say that a long second. Third is really where they struggled, so that they can make a lot of progress here early on. It puts a lot of the onus on Shikigami.
Nice whip shot going to deny the dive in from Mitch, and that is going to put some hesitancy into the rest of the team as they can't quite push forward yet. The rest of Nisshoki trying to push through this staircase, but they lose the Diva, and now it's going to be the rest of Shikigami just cleaning up these remaining members. And with 10 seconds left, there's pretty much no chance here for the recontest for the side of Nisshoki. Spice is going to be on the Wrecking Ball to potentially get back in time, and indeed, actually, Zephan was able to stay alive through all of that and triggers the overtime as the rest of the team trying to get back into here. It's a desperate dash towards the point here, and they do have Havoc on the Doomfist if they can find some value with these punches. Does get one there onto SBT, takes out the Sigma immediately. This one is still up for grabs as Nisshoki have some purchase on the point, but they lose Pinhead now without that support, and with the Transcendence coming through, it doesn't seem very likely. It was a valiant effort there from Nisshoki in the final fight, but the ultimates coming online there for Shikigami are enough to hang on.
Well, absolutely have to agree. Shikigami just playing that, allowing that fight to be played as slow as possible. We saw them deny the dives onto the high ground for Nisshoki so many times that Nisshoki just had no choice but to run basically one attack if they wanted to continue contesting that high ground. They didn't decide to go a little bit more directly to point, but when you're playing those very dive-heavy compositions, I can understand why you'd want a little bit more range to pick off those easier targets. Still, it was just unfortunate for the side of that attacking team that it did not work out for them.
No, and now their backs are against the wall a little bit here for Blizzard World. 2:21 on the clock for Shikigami, and only a single tick is what is required to be able to take map number 3 and the advantage in this series. So they're going to go right back to what has worked for them so far. Their attack was, not the fastest you'll ever see on Blizzard World, but that was mostly just because they took their time. They rotated around the map very smartly. They got into position where they could actually put pressure on the back line of Nisshoki, and if they can kind of repeat that performance here, then things should be smooth sailing for our attackers.
As we can see, the attackers have 2 minutes 20 to get just a measly 1 tick here on Blizzard World. A good opportunity here, and Lucid Science has that Wrecking Ball the opportunity to do a little bit of early and fast, rapid scouting. But if they're playing in sort of anticipation of last time, they might be expecting more of the team to be on point like they were previously, than perhaps not.
But still the same kind of rotation coming out here from Shikigami. They want to be able to take control of this right side of the point, and already the dive is in. 2 kills, both DPS gone in an instant for Nisshoki, and now they're trying to cling on to this point with desperation. Mitch and Spice both trying to go in here, but they simply don't have the tools, they don't have the damage, they don't have the support anymore at this point, as it's just those 2 healers kind of remaining in this fight. Havoc cannot do anything on the Doomfist, and that will do it for Blizzard World. Shikigami dominate the latter half of this map as they take control of the series.
Yeah, Shikigami definitely putting a lid on a pot that was starting to boil over. I mentioned that they were not having a very Nepal performance like we saw early on, but I definitely think that tempo kind of changed around once they hopped onto that attack. Things definitely started looking up for them, and again, it feels like a lot of this is being defined by that tank play, which is, part of the play of the game that we are seeing here. But when it comes to that Wrecking Ball, Lucid Science able to just cause so much havoc. Z-Panther always getting kind of jostled around. Pinhead only able to, I guess, shield bash their way out of a situation like that so many times. We saw them use their whip shots to some fair degree every time a pile driver came in, but still, that's one resource you're pretty much just anticipating to have to hold for a Wrecking Ball. You'd like to be able to divert it somewhere else.
Yeah, and it felt like so much of the attention from Nisshoki was going towards Lucid Science. Like they were really in on trying to deny some of the dives coming out from Lucid Science and the rest of Shikigami, that at times it meant that the rest of Shikigami was finding a little bit more value in that fight just because they weren't getting attention on them. And I think the prime kind of beneficiary of that in a lot of cases was SBT, who to me really stepped up there on the Sigma, playing in concert as kind of in a lot of ways, like kind of more playing the role of main tank in those compositions, while Lucid Science is off, distracting the enemy team. He's the one with the rest, with the supports, protecting everybody and giving them kind of a foothold to kind of stage their attacks from.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to see, from my end anyway, Nisshoki kind of cope with this, traditional dive against a Sigma who can do a lot to mitigate a bunch of the damage that can be directed your way. If you're going in with a dive leading by Winston, a good accretion will halt that. It'll stun the Winston, push him farther away, and then if there's anybody following up behind him, now suddenly they're in the front. You can use that kinetic grasp to try to counter, wherever tracers might be creeping their heads, pulse bombs as well, diva missiles. A lot of tools that SVT has at their disposal that so far we've been seeing them successfully use to mitigate damage from Nisshoki.
Absolutely, and the supports I think on the side of Shikigami also did an excellent job there on that map. I mean, they're playing somewhat of a risky style. Like you're playing the Briggs in, where you do not have a tremendous amount of healing in a lot of these cases. Like the Inspire can at times be a little bit difficult to proc and really get going, and obviously the Zen not providing that much on the healing front outside of the Transcendence, but all the while they were playing as a really strong unit. They were protecting each other, and they really foiled a lot of those dive attempts coming in from Mitch and the rest of Nisshoki.
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree here. Now the question to me becomes, what's the mindset between these two teams, right? And I mean that with Shikigami now, of course, having this opportunity to ban a map. Looking forward, you have to consider, where can we perhaps use that wrecking ball that we're finding a lot of this benefit with, but also where can we hamper what Mitch and Spice can do with this Winston, with this Diva. And I say them, but I mean the entirety of Nisshoki, who are seeming to running dive with very little issue here. Nisshoki, of course, going to have the onus to pick any map they want out of our pool, but Shikigami can at least try to get ahead of that train and mitigate it early on.
Yeah, very interesting decision here. Shikigami gonna ban Oasis, which to me is a little bit surprising. Like, given that their propensity for these wrecking ball comps, like, why wouldn't you want to go to the control map? Why wouldn't you want to go towards a map, especially like Oasis? I mean, that can have some good wrecking ball opportunities. It's not necessarily the best map. You can't play it on all 3 points, but there is value to be had there, but still not where Shikigami want to take us. So that's another option taken off the board here for Nisshoki as they decide where they want to make their stand, because now they're on the verge want to start your tournament run off, and they'll have an opportunity here to kind of avoid that fate.
Yeah, I absolutely tend to agree. To use a very common term, they're now Nisshoki is rather on the back foot, where they now having to recompose themselves, figure out, okay, how do we suddenly tip momentum in our favor? Because now not only do you have to win just another map, you have to win 2 maps in a row, which so far we've not seen these teams be able to do. Yes, it's a best of 5. It's unless it's a sweep, it's a little bit harder to see those back-to-back maps with the changes in tempo that we're seeing today. And overall, it's still a problem that Nisshoki is going to have to overcome. Again, this happens a lot when we have teams that are very practiced on specific maps or specific map types, where they'll come in, they'll pick a map that they know they can win, with a very high success rate. Their opponents will do the same, and then it just kind of goes back and forth. But for the team that loses first, that's not the best position, because you're never going to have that innate advantage.
Right. I mean, and that's where Shikigami has kind of like earned this decisive position in this series, where now, yes, they don't get to pick this map, which will in fact be Lijiang Tower as Nisshoki lock in their pick, but Shikigami, you're going to have a chance to pick a map, and if you win that map, you win the series. That's not something that Nisshoki are going to have the luxury of here. So definitely something to keep an eye on. If we do go to that map 5, it will of course be Shikigami's pick, and they'll have a little bit of a leg up in that regard. But first and foremost, Nisshoki, they've got to come away with the win here on Lijiang if they want to avoid that 3-1 loss.
And Shagai, I was about to say it before we, got to peek at what our next sub map would be, but I was really hoping we could see this command center map come through. I know that both of these teams are kind of shying away from that primary Reinhardt play ever since Nepal kind of came and went on Gibraltar on Blizzard World. We haven't really seen it, but that feels like almost a necessity here on this command center. We're going to be seeing Mitch, we're going to be seeing Lucid Science go head-to-head on it once again, and it gets me kind of wondering, you know, how these teams are going to play any differently, if they will be playing differently than their standard compositions that we've seen so far.
Of course. I mean, I think we're definitely going to have to see some changes here, but you know, we have already seen both teams break out a little bit of the Rhine earlier on the Pulse, and we know that both are definitely capable of it, but we are going to see Doom v Doom here. Stone and Havoc, mirror comps actually across the board here for Control Center, which is really fascinating. Mitch already taking the kind of forward position here with the rest of his team. They've forced Shikigami kind of back into this stairwell for the time being. These Symmetras getting ramped up, starting to do a tremendous amount of damage, and there's the first shatter of the game. It doesn't quite connect there for Mitch, but still the kills are coming through as the rest of the team pushes forward. Shikigami are on the front foot for the time being.
It's going to be the Proton Barrier going down for now the side of Shikigami, but going down for both teams. And I want to talk about this. Having bringing out the Meteor Strike, Stone still at 50%.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. He got some good angles to get into the backline, but it's Stone here who actually finds a pick there onto Zafan, and through all of that chaos, it's Nisshoki who managed to secure an early cap and then win out the subsequent fight. From there, Zafan staying alive through pretty much all of it was fantastic, pumping out so much damage on the Symmetra, and it's given Nisshoki a nice leg up here.
Yeah, absolutely right. And again, this fight took just long enough for Nisshoki to start building up quite a hefty point percentage before this fight even really starts going underway. An early immortality field from both sides mean that this is going to be a little bit more fundamental.
Most definitely, there's the Meteor Strike in from Stone, and they're able to capitalize on the early advantage he gave them. Got a pick onto Zafan, and then the rest of the team able to assert themselves as well as they push forward. A much-needed fight win there for Shikigami as they regain control of the point.
Now, as we look here, this is where the compositions with this Symmetra can start to get oppressive. You put some turrets up on that primary entry point, and all of a sudden, multiple sources of damage, multiple slows coming through. The Earth Shatter tries to connect, but not quite making it.
No, it was a nice effort from Mitch to kind of stay off the engage there from Shikigami, but there was just too much damage. He got melted by the Amp Matrix that got thrown out by Abyss, and now things are a little bit awkward here for Nisshoki as they try to push in. They were able to bait out an ultimate there, but they use one of their own, so they're in definitely a disadvantage in that regard as Shikigami fall back towards the point.
Absolutely, we're gonna see now Nisshoki try to get in here. They have that amplification matrix of their own, but it's nicely cut by this Proton Barrier that eventually is gonna be responded to in kind.
Indeed, and it's Shikigami who are coming out on top of this fight. Once again, they had Nisshoki kind of corralled in towards the choke point, able to capitalize nicely off of it as they now push forward and are going to do what they can to try and make things difficult for Nisshoki, trying to push through this initial choke point, force them to rotate to the high ground through the server room if they want an easier time of it. But a little bit of ring around the rosy here as neither team know where the other is going, how they'll square off.
Now they will be squaring off once again. Stone trying to get in there, get some good damage, but the Doomfist just can't quite connect. Puts themselves right in the middle of everything, and all of a sudden it's going to be very difficult for that Doomfist to get a lot of benefit if there's 13 threats bearing down on him, Shy Guy.
Yeah, we saw both Dooms fly up into the sky, try and engage with the Meteor Strike, but it's Havoc who's able to do so much more work this time around on that pick, able to do a lot of damage with the Meteor Strike, force out the Immortality Field, and then clean up afterwards. So Nisshoki answer back here. They are in a win or kind of lose this point scenario. They can't afford to give up a fight here. As the the Amp Matrix comes out, Stone diving in, trying to find kills. People alive for the time being doesn't seem to matter here. as Shikigami press forward. They've got the numbers, they've got the tools to close out this fight in Abyss, lasering people down on this Baptiste.
They're going to be doing extremely well for that support play coming through. Shikigami looking like they're on the cusp of winning this and setting themselves up for a great rest of Lijiang Tower. Mitch going to actually be the one bringing out the Wrecking Ball, not Lucid Science this time around, but at this point, it's just Stagger, Shy Guy.
Indeed it is. Pinhead not going to be able to do anything at all on the Lucio, and that is it for Control Center. Shikigami take the first point here on Nepal, and now it's just one more. It's all that they need to claim this first series of the All-Star Brawl 6. This has been an incredible series to kick things off, but we might be denied the map 5 here if Nisshoki cannot pull it together.
Well, if you're asking me, I don't think Shikigami's going to be too upset that they're not going to be going to a map 5, and I can't say I blame them with a performance coming out from their opponents like we've been seeing. I mean, this could be a team that just wears down on you, but now we're going to be playing in Nisshoki's wheelhouse a little bit as we take it to Gardens, always a little bit more of that dive-friendly map.
Even Lucid Science going over the Winston for what I believe might be only the second time this series. We saw it on Gibraltar. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. We'll see what they can do this time around as both teams meet in the courtyard. But Stone finding the opening pick on the Sombra, that's absolutely insane. You don't expect to see that every day, but it's given Shikigami the control of this point for the time being. They are able to push forward and secure the remainder of the kills they need to get this opening fight.
Absolutely, and you're going to have to give me just a second here, Shy Guy. I am having some severe technical issues.
All right, that's absolutely fine. But I may have actually spoken a little too soon on this fight. Mitch and Havoc, they swing back in. They pick up 3 quick kills, and all of a sudden, Shikigami are left without any purchase on the point whatsoever. They are completely denied entry in the latter half of that fight, and now they're going to find themselves in a very awkward spot here as they try to push forward. They are building up towards that first EMP. Stone at 95%. That's the big tool for Shikigami here, trying to win out this fight. But Havoc sent off the edge of the map by the Primal Rage, copied the Winston, and suddenly found themselves without an escape ability to get back towards the map. Lucid Science doing incredible work in this fight, has single-handedly kind of secured this one for Shikigami, and the stall is here for Nisshoki. The Primal Rage out from Mitch is not going to do anything in terms of actually, turning this fight around, but it does buy them more and more time on the point. Pinhead is back here doing the Lucio things, right in the walls. Spice going to be delaying as much as possible as well, and they have bought themselves a good 20% here just by staggering into this fight. And now Shikigami just trying to close it out. They have not been able to do so yet. It's going to get up to about 70% before they can actually manage to get the flip, and just incredible stuff there from Nisshoki. It was a questionable decision to go in for the stall in the first place, but it works out as well as you can imagine there. They have put themselves in a commanding position, but they will have to be able to retake here up against Shikigami and Stone nearing that next EMP. Gonna be the Diva Bomb engage here for SBT, not finding too much, but the kill on the Mitch is more than enough in this scenario, and the rest of Nisshoki just bail out. They abandon ship after losing their main tank, and they will just have to give this another shot here with some ultimates coming online, the self-destruct for Spice, as well as that sound barrier for Pinhead. But he's got to be careful with the EMP waiting. It's going to be the proactive EMP and the follow-up there for the rest of Shikigami. Lucid Science finds 2, and they clean up the fight quite nicely. As now it is going to be a good situation here for the side of Shikigami. They maintain control. They fought their way back into this point, but now the ultimates are here for the side of Nisshoki. Trevsex finds his opposite number before that pulse bomb comes online, and Mitch gets bullied by Lucid Science. Once again, this has just been fight after fight of Shikigami just taking it to Nisshoki, being very, very aggressive.
Maybe Shikigami got a little bit of that confidence back in them. I might have spoken a little bit too soon about this being the preferred map for Nisshoki, but they're certainly not done. A couple ultimates in the bank. The opportunity here, they're going to be initiating with this Primal Rage and the Sound Barrier, trying to just dislodge anybody they can, find those one weaknesses, but so far no kills going in either direction. Zafan getting 4 though!
What in the world? No halt, no, Graviton Surge, just a dry 4-man pulse bomb from Zafin when his team needed it most. I mean, if they lose that fight, they are into the lower bracket, so incredibly clutch, but now all the tools have been used on both sides. Trevsex does have that pulse bomb to try and replicate what Zafin was able to do right now. Both Tracers just dueling Zafin, going down very, very low, but the fight going to really kick off here on the bridge as both teams lose their Moiras very early on here. SBT out of the mech and removed from the fight, so Nisshoki standing strong for the time being, but very low health bars kind of across the board in this moment, and the EMP could be huge. There's the sound barrier in from Neothe as well to keep Shikigami in this fight, but they gotta be able to find some of these kills, and so far they're struggling to do so. There's a bomb out from Spice to clear some space, but it does not seem to be enough. Nisshoki getting whittled down for the time being. Mitch is so close to this Primal Rage. He's worked wonders with it in the past and does build it up in time to throw it out. So we've got another protracted fight to welcome.
Now this is an incredible fight going on. Zafin actually going to be able to take down Trevstax, a good continuation for this fight. But again, with the point being in possession from Nisshoki, it's pretty much just going to be how long can Shikigami hold on for. Not long enough.
No, indeed, and this was the point of fights that never ended for both sides. I mean, Nisshoki, they kind of win this one off the back of their ability to get an incredible stall on that point. They got up to 70% despite the fact that they won just like one fight on that point, and now it's all going to come down to night market here. Nisshoki with one last chance to keep themselves in the upper bracket for the time being. And Shikigami, of course, they do not want to go to the do or die map 5, and they're gonna break out this Farah Wrecking Ball comp once again. It worked for them to an extent on Nepal up against the Reinhardt style that Nisshoki are bringing to the table.
And with this, it's looking like it might be Shikigami's last fight. So remember, folks, if you have any MVP votes that you're holding out for, make sure you get it in before the end of this match. This might be the last one we see here, but so far, this team just looking to barrel onto this point. Once again, with the Doomfist coming out, Havoc trying to get this damage done, but not really connecting with so many aerial and fast units in general.
Yeah, it's hard to find those easy targets, but there it goes. Havoc taking down Trevstex with the single punch there. Stone, though, on the backside, finds the angle to take out Mitch, and now, with no shield protecting them, Nisshoki is in a bit of a rough spot. They are able to trade things out. Panther gets that Amp Matrix down, but there's the barrage in from Stone, able to get the D-Mech, finds enough damage, and Shikigami should be able to clean up this fight.
Yeah, Shikigami not going to have too much problem with that. They'll even get the res onto Abyss. They want to get that Transcendence back into the fight as quick as possible. And man, engagement coming in from this team. Nisshoki going to really be trying to get in there with that Reinhardt. Not going to work out for them, and they decide maybe they want to go for the recontest with something a little bit more dive-centric. Exactly what they're going to be fighting, and Spice eating up those ultimates at his nice start.
The dive already able to force that Transcendence out of Abyss, and the bomb up into the air, not quite going to find any targets as Nisshoki rotating over towards the point, but they're on the retreat the entire time, and now there's mines waiting for them when they arrive. Things looking very dire for them in this fight as the remaining members of Nisshoki taken down. they're starting to build up towards that first round of ultimates after they swapped, but they find themselves on the back foot.
We talked about this before, Shy Guy. You can have those ultimates that are building up a little bit slower, but what's really going to hamper you is if your opponent has a lot more. And we look towards Shikigami. They do not have much. They have maybe the Pulse Bomb that far if she lands a couple good rockets. Will have Barrage, but Spice should be able to deal with either of those ultimates should they come out and they are alert enough. Trebstacks goes for it, does manage to take out Z-Panther, not alert enough.
Oh, indeed, and that might be the worst member they could have lost in that instance. No Moira means very little healing, and it's easy cleanup from there for Stone and the rest of the squad, as now Shikigami in a commanding position here. They've got 75% on the board. Nisshoki, one good fight is all you'll have, and you will be staring down the barrel of Stone with this barrage. Abyss has the trans. This is not going to be easy.
Fortunately, you can try to send Zaffin in there, get some early damage in, but with Nia going down right away, this is a good start, especially with now both supports going down. This looks like a very good position for Nisshoki, although they lose one.
Yeah, I do, on some level, have to commend the just kind of patience and restraint there from Abyss. So many Zens would pop that trans as soon as they get any pressure with the Mercy down. That's the only healing you have, but you were still down in numbers, and they didn't really have the best of opportunities to clutch out that fight. So he hangs on to it, and it is going to mean Shikigami can come back in here, re-engage with some tools in there. Their pocket the mines as well for Lucid Science as he looks for the angle to get into this fight. Gonna try and separate the tanks from the rest of the team, and Mitch cannot get enough healing from that coalescence. He goes down. That's been the linchpin for Nisshoki throughout this entire series. Will they be able to stick around without that main tank? Pinhead falls as well to the bomb, and it's all falling apart here for Nisshoki. They are doing everything in their power to maintain this fight, but Havoc has to duplicate the Tracer, can't get any value out of that ultimate. Mitch is back with the Primal Rage, but cannot find the knockoffs he needs to secure the fight, and goes down once more. Nisshoki, bleeding out in this fight, trying to get onto the point with everything they have, and just barely able to keep the overtime going, but losing members left, right, and center. Havoc can do nothing in this moment, and Mitch stands by impotently as his team gets taken out. Shikigami will secure Lijiang Tower and move forward in the Overwatch All-Star Brawl.
And they will be moving forward, but not without some good competition at the other end of the table. Nisshoki definitely putting up a good fight. It wasn't the 5 maps that I was hoping for, but once again, Shikigami going to be pretty okay with that. Now, as we look ahead, we're going to be seeing this big 4-man bomb coming in from Zafan.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that's just incredible stuff there. What a clutch, when his team was down like that. That was, without that, they probably don't even get to the third sub point there on Lijiang. But in the end, just the combined efforts of Shikigami are too much to handle in this series. And they showed us today that they are a team to be reckoned with in this tournament.
They certainly are. And folks, as we come to a conclusion with this matchup, make sure you get those last-minute MVP votes in. While we do give you guys a moment to get those in, do you want to give a special thanks to Deep OW for subscribing? We much appreciate it, fam. Love having the community around here, celebrating both Overwatch and these teams in general.
Yeah, indeed. It's always a pleasure, and I gotta say, this was our first match back here at the All-Star Brawl, Waltham, and it was an absolute banger. I loved every minute of this. It was a joy to be here with you. We got some incredible maps. I mean, I really am going to be looking forward to seeing what these two teams can do throughout the rest of the tournament, because tonight they definitely impressed me.
Yeah, I'm going to be rewinding that VCR tape from Gibraltar for a while in my mind. Just keep going over how these teams played it, because we definitely saw, different proficiencies come out from these teams. Although you think, Winston, Wrecking Ball, they can both be kind of divey. They can both get high ground. The way these teams were playing them, very coordinated in their own fashion, separate from one another's play style. But Shikigami just coming out a little bit more superior in that. But honestly, I gotta be sincere here, Shy Guy. 3-1 does not feel like a fair scoreline based off of the performance we saw these teams give out today.
No, definitely. Like, I mean, Nisshoki definitely showed that they have a lot of firepower on this roster, and to me, they were a team where it really, really felt like I could feel the individual performances time and time again coming through. I mean, this was a team, they put an insane amount of resources into Mitch, and a lot of the time he was able to carry them through these fights. I mean, I don't remember the last time I've seen that many primal rage kills in one series. I mean, it definitely helps that he had a nano boost on top of him for a lot of those. But it was definitely a tremendous amount of value coming out of the main tank for Nisshoki, and just a completely like different play style from Shikigami, because their main tank, okay, Lucid Science, you're on an island, you're wrecking ball, you're doing your own thing, and the rest of the team is kind of is playing around that, but in a completely different way to what we saw out of Nisshoki, and that kind of stylistic matchup is always a thrill to watch. And tonight it is going to be Shikigami who are able to get the upper hand.
Yeah, and fortunately, we are not going to have to kiss either of these teams goodbye, as you mentioned at the beginning of the cast. I'm going to steal your line here. Both of these teams will have at least 2 bites of the apple. So Nisshoki going to be running along in the losers bracket, or in the lower bracket if you prefer. Still have the opportunity to clutch back. Who knows? We might see a redemption story where they go and fight Shikigami in the later ends of this tournament. But overall, definitely very happy to see the performances coming out from these teams. But unfortunately, inevitably, one of them has to go into the lower bracket.
Indeed, and that will be Nisshoki and Shikigami for the time being, celebrating the win here tonight. And to tell us a little bit more about this series, we are ready to welcome your viewer MVP for the evening. It's SBT, the off tank on the side of Shikigami. A welcome to the cast here, and congratulations on both the win and the MVP award here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So SPT, let me ask you something that we kind of talked about a lot for your team. We saw a lot of Wrecking Ball come out in terms of the compositions, right? What is your mindset as the second tank playing, I guess, more with the team than the Wrecking Ball would be?
I mean, the biggest thing that I need to take care of is making sure my team is positioned in the right spot. So I was really bad at that until about halfway through Blizzard World. I realized, we need to I need to be giving a lot more space with their monkey comps. So I honestly, I'm surprised they're gonna VP. I think my team carried. I kind of inted, but yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah, so I mean, talk to me a little bit about kind of that process of adapting to what Nisshoki are throwing at you. I mean, it was a really aggressive look from them. It seemed like literally any time that there was a nano boost up, it was going on to Mitch. He was primal raging right on top of your backline. What kind of things are you looking to change when you were playing up against a team like that?
Well, I mean, like I said, it took us a while to figure it out. Usually by the time we swapped to the heroes we needed to swap to, we would be down ults, and a lot of times ults, support ults especially, are great at countering Nano Monkey. Gibraltar was pretty tough. I think we just didn't play as we normally did. But for every other map, we pretty much just decided to bait their aggression and punish the monkey every time. So,
well, I mean, we certainly saw it come through with some good effect here. Now, I want to talk about some other members of your team here. Another thread that me and Shy Guy kind of talked about quite a bit was Abyss playing that Zenyatta so frequently against a dive composition. We would honestly expect them to be one of the most vulnerable targets within your team. How does your team kind of mitigate that threat to that Zenyatta?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. He always tells me I need to peel more, but I definitely trust Abyss. Like if it's just a tracer, like 9 times out of 10 he'll win the 1v1. And especially when Neothe is on Brig, it's like it makes me able to go a lot more aggressive. But yeah, I mean, you can play Zen into dive as long as your Zen hits your shots, hits his shots, and Abyss definitely does that. So.
Yeah, indeed. Throughout the series, kind of one other thing I noticed from you guys was just like how like diligent and like methodical you were about like rotating around the map. It felt like, especially on Blizzard World, like you always had like a position that you wanted to go take control of. How like pre-planned is stuff like that? When you go into an attack round, do you know kind of exactly where you are trying to rotate most of the time?
Well, like I was talking about earlier, that's like kind of on me as the tank. I kind of lead, like I mean, our ball tracer do their thing, and I kind of lead the rest of us. So some of it is pre-planned. I think on third Blizzard World, it took us like way too long to realize we needed to play back by the Mega if they were to go under us. So that was kind of difficult, but I mean, over time, you're just kind of getting a sense for like saying like, okay, if they go here, we go here. If they go here, we go here. And so some of it's pre-planned, some of it's like right before the fight happens. Some of it's VOD views. But yeah, it also depends on our ults. Like if we want to go aggro, we'll play closer. So.
All right, and the final question I have for you, SBT. I know we are just getting into the tournament here, but are there any opponents that you necessarily have your eyes on, or that you think might be particular challenges coming up to you in the next couple of brackets, or in the tournament overall?
I mean, I've seen the teams. We've been, I don't know, we've been rolling a lot of scrims recently. Yeah, that's all I'll say. So I'm not really worried.
All right. Well, we love that confidence. We love to hear it. But SBT, do want to give you the utmost thanks for coming in here, answering a few of our questions after a well-fought game. And I guess as a little bit of a compensation here, we do want to give you the opportunity to give any shout-outs as well as drop your socials if you're so inclined.
I want to shout out our org management, like Camo and Aeroplane. They're really great. Aero, especially. Goated manager. Also, I think my parents are watching, so hi, Mom. But yeah, and at SBT_OW on Twitter. Shameless plug.
All right. Well, thank you very much, SBT. And once again, congratulations on the victory.
All right, thank you.
And with that, Shy Guy, we come to the conclusion of our first day back here at the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl. And it's been a very good day, I'd say. Even though we only got one game, what a game to start.
No, absolutely. That was everything I could have wanted, save for the map 5 there at the end that we do not get to see. But still, it was a thrilling series from start to finish. We never really felt like we knew which way this one was gonna go, and this is only the beginning. This is the first game of the tournament here. We've got a long road ahead of us, a lot more Overwatch to be played, and I cannot wait to see how the rest of this plays out.
Unfortunately, with all good things must come to an end, so we are about ready to sign off for the night, folks. But before we go, we do want to remind you folks, follow, subscribe if you're so inclined. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter. Make sure to join the Discord for all the up-to-date All-Stars Brawl information. But for the time being, I've been Sir Waltham. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Waltham.
You can find me at ShyGuyOW, all one word, all lowercase. Thank you so much to everyone who came back out to watch the All-Star Brawl back on the airwaves, back on Twitch once again. It was an absolute pleasure to bring you this game tonight, and we will see you again soon with more action here at the All-Star Brawl 6.